person online. And we're all really thrilled for him to be here. We just feel like he's going to really be able to bring us some really wonderful insights that cross the barriers. You're not limited to just Vedic astrology, but just be to break that through in terms of other schools of our of study. So without further ado, Sam.
And our life is typically rajasic. The world is basically passion and rajas, and we want something. Simple way to put it. That desire, I want something, is what the simple way to encapsulate the rajasic guna is. But we want something that's going to take us deeper into suffering, pain. Are we going deeper into something that's down here, which is the tamasic guna, or are we going towards something that's up here? So rajas exists in the middle. It's just our desire, it's our motivation. A lot of people call it free will and all of that stuff. It's our emotional experience and what we're orienting our attention toward. We can orient it toward sattva, we can orient it toward tamas. We can increase the pain and suffering, the confusion, the entrenched habits that aren't taking us anywhere, or we can seek the light and seek more wisdom and seek this. Rajas is a very neutral guna. It's just your passion, what you're passionate about. That's why they say, you know, focus on something good. If you focus on something negative, then it becomes more negative. Very interesting when you look at the directions of the gunas, body, mind, and spirit. Rajas goes side to side and outward. It's outward and side to side. It's like we're not kind of going anywhere. We're just kind of existing in passion. Tamas goes out and down, like down and out. Down and out. That's tamas, right? That's kind of when we lose ourselves in form. You know, you did this to me, I'm a victim, whatever. That's the simple thing, you know, tangled up in confusion and anger. You know, anger, fear, confusion, these are the tamasic guna, and they cut off the flow of grace. They cut off the flow of grace. And when we're in that mode, we're going down and out, we're looking for something outside, and it's pulling us down. How about sattva? What direction do you think that moves? In and up. Sounds a lot better, doesn't it? Rather be going in and up, right? Inward, upward, right? So we go inward and we become introspective. We contemplate and we seek knowledge. We're willing to be present. We're willing to be accountable, not just go outward looking for this habitual kind of thing. We say, wait a minute, we ponder and we reflect. A lot of this has to do with the moon, which I'm going to be talking about this process a lot over the weekend. This is what the weekend course is going to be about. But again, these are universal principles. The moon is not the Vedic moon, all that stuff. And it's actually based on the astronomical position of the planets in the chart. Have you ever noticed there's no lines in the sky? You ever look up and go, where's that line between Gemini and Taurus? You ever notice that they're just kind of there? You look up in the moon, up the sky tonight. Did you see the moon? Anybody know what it was next to? Jupiter. Jupiter. Thank God somebody knew that. So moon Jupiter is there no matter what zodiac you use, no matter what. Moon is next to Jupiter. And like, for instance, if we were doing, like for instance, in the class that I'm doing on moon yogas, you assess the planets that are around the moon and then the planets that are angular to the moon, and they give specific clues as to what the person's mind is gravitating toward. What are they, how is their consciousness imprinted? I'm going to start talking here in a bit about each one of the planets and which component part of the planet we are. But the moon is really basically the simple way to describe the moon, and it's probably the hardest symbol to describe because we're hardly ever experiencing the moon in its true glory. What is the moon? Somebody tell me. I need to take a drink. What does the moon show? Oh, you're strong. Because, you know, the simplest way to really encapsulate the moon is often what's said is the emotions. I mean, if that's what you hear, moon is the emotions. And that's true. The moon is, but the emotions are not foundational to the moon. Just like waves aren't foundational to the ocean, waves aren't foundational to water. They're a result of something. Waves come because there's wind on the water, or there's movement, or there's something happening which makes waves. Water without any activity is still. There's nothing. It's stillness. It's clear. There's nothing in it. Like if you just get pure water and there's nothing, like there's no impurities in it, there's no wind blowing on it, there's no something moving around, it'll just be clear, still, and deep. And this is the nature of the moon. It's the nature of the mind. This is the nature of what they call manas in yoga, and also it's called chitta, manas. There's a couple ways to look at it really, but it's actually the pure consciousness that has no bias, has no, I'm talking about the pure quality of the moon, not what we're used to. The thing is we live so much through our moon, we're so attached to so many things, we have so many feelings and so much mental substance that we don't have any detachment from what it actually really is, and we're hardly ever clear. I mean really clear. I don't mean where we're not as upset as we usually are, but I mean where there's like nothing. I mean where you're in the total peace, where you're connected to pure silence. They call it samadhi in yoga, where you are connected to the source and there's no vrittis. There's a famous book. Anybody ever heard of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali? The first sutra is, what is it? Do you know?
The mind stuff.
Yoga Chitta Vritti Narodaha. That's the Sanskrit. It's yoga is restraining the mind, the mental activity. And the second sutra is when the mental modifications are restrained, the being rests in their true nature, right? And this is what the goal of yoga, the goal of life, really, and all of our happiness is to become still, is to become clear, is to become a clear lake. Usually when we experience water, we can understand the moon this way, we experience it through the waves. We see the waves. We see the surface of it, just like we see the surface of each other and our body and all that. We experience the water through the waves. If we're, let's say that we're in a boat on the water and we look down, we can't see all the way to the bottom because there's waves and there's obscurities and there's stuff going on. If you could still that water and there was no impurities, like I said, you could look all the way down to the bottom and glimpse like what's all the way down to the depths of that water. This is what happens when you do meditation, when you do Eastern practices. Yoga is restraining the mental modifications so that we can glimpse our true nature. And that whole thing is shutting down the moon, quieting the moon. That doesn't mean you're against it. That whole process is to get to the purity of the moon. Because the moon, if you want to see what the moon is like in its pure form, look in the face of like a baby. They're like, they're this opening. They're just an opening. The moon is the opening. In its purest form, it's the opening. Opening. And if you're not whatever you're not open to, that's where your suffering is. Your suffering starts as soon as you say no. Not this, not this, I'm afraid of that, I don't like that, and there's the prison right there. And it's all these planets and these other energies creating this thing around the moon. Because the moon is our, what is it? It's our past conditioning. We're not in that state of anymore. The baby comes out and it's like, what? Oh, and then what happens? Oh, this is the way the world works. This is who I am. This is right. This is wrong. By the time it's like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, it's developed a personality based on what it's picked up, what it's gathered, and this is what the moon does. It gathers things. It's the opening. And it's consequently the filter to the opening. You like some things, you let some things in. Oh, I like some of this. I gravitate toward that. I like that thing. I don't like that thing. Give me more of that. Don't give me any of that. Right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Never ends. It's just, we just call it life. And what I'm saying is the reason the moon is so hard to describe in its pure form is because we're hardly ever there. We're so into this, we're so hooked into this matrix of what I want, what I don't want, how it feels. I want the good stuff, don't want the bad stuff.
Is mind an okay thing to use?
As long as we know what mind is. People often say mind, and mind means intellect, which is actually buddhi, and that's Mercury.
Okay.
This is why I'm saying it's tough. It's like the opening. It's that innocent mind that has no agenda, that just wants to receive and wants to flow with everything. See, this is the thing. Consciousness is good if we know what consciousness is. Many times people say consciousness and it means I'm not asleep. I'm not sleeping in my bed. Now I'm conscious. See, I've taught this a while.
Okay.
Words have a lot of traps.
Right.
So consciousness, pure consciousness, which again, we're hardly ever there. If you want to know that, it's that innocent mind that doesn't have attractions and aversions, protecting itself. And what happens is that when we come from that place of pure consciousness, of purity, with no past, no future, and we're just innocent and open to the moment, this is what we're trying to do. The pain and suffering of the moon is because we sense that we're divine being. We know we're divine being. Like I said, we come here, and unless we're growing and we're creating and getting closer to that light, the light of the sun. The moon is the reflection of the sun, just like in the sky. The sun and moon created life together. The sun is the supreme self, the non-embodied self. Okay? The non-localized being within us is the sun. It's called the Paramatman in Eastern. See, there's a part of you that, like let's say when our body dies, we return to the source, that oneness that we talk about. Does that make sense? This comes from the sun, because the sun was here, the sun was there shining, the power of the sun, nothing here yet. No forms, nothing. Finally some forms started. After the moon worked into that sacred vibration. Finally we started to get forms. So the sun is that non-localized being within us that we're all trying to get toward. And the moon is how we feel, how we're reflecting that. We're feeling, am I flowing with full consciousness yet? Am I flowing with the self? Oh, I got to protect myself from this. I don't like that. I want to feel connected. We want to feel that flow with others, with our higher self. Others are just an expression of our inner life. And when we try to get it from outside, we're going what? Out and down. Really, the way we experience the moon is our peace of mind. The thing at the moon, and the part of you, what the moon really wants is to be peaceful. The moon is very much about relationships, and we often lose ourselves in that, not just romantic ones, but with other people. Because we're really here, I think, other people are just like a mirror contrast to make us face ourselves. And what often happens is we lose ourselves in that interaction because we're looking outside to find something to help us stabilize that inner emotional environment. We're trying to calm that moon, and it's based on our past, what we're used to. It's not based on what's empirically right or wrong. It's based on what our habits are. That's why